Wrestling fans, guys, tonight's Monday Night Raw was the go home show to TLC. The go home show to the final pay per view of WWE's calendar year. And what did WWE do? Well, I'm not going to say this was the best show in the world because it wasn't. It was better than the last 2 weeks, by far. Which means Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn didn't write the shows by themselves. Had to have. Not saying that the other WWE creative writers are perfect, because we all know that they're not. But this show was better than the last 2 weeks. With that being said, before you all think I'm going to come on here and start joy juicing about Monday Night Raw tonight, forget about it. Ain't going to happen. WWE took Seth Rollins and had him come out tonight and state word for word what the WWE universe has been griping and complaining about the loudest over the last number of weeks. It was almost like they literally watch everybody's reviews on YouTube. It was almost like they actually pay attention to the tweets and the Facebook comments that people put out. Seriously. Could not get any more right to the point than the words that Seth Rollins said tonight to Baron Corbin in that opening segment. About Raw sucked, about the ratings, about it's all directed towards Baron Corbin or General Manager-elect Baron Corbin, so on and so forth. Couldn't get any more accurate. And how ironic WWE doing that. Now, what does WWE do to fire back at Seth Rollins? Vincent Kennedy McMahon comes to life out of Baron Corbin. Sounded just like Vince McMahon when he's playing a heel and he's talking about firing somebody and making somebody's life hell on Monday Night Raw. That was the biggest storyline for Raw tonight. Now, some of you might take that and say, well, the entire focus was on Baron Corbin, and we're still tired of seeing Baron Corbin in TLC matches, even though this was his first one, and the big spotlight, so on and so forth, because he's an authority figure. At least, tonight, he was not focused in every single segment like he had been virtually in the last 2 weeks. Give you a little bit of applaud, WWE. Now, before we go any further into this, don't forget to become a subscriber today. And don't forget to hit the bell so you get all notifications. And follow me on Facebook and Twitter at 2007Webby. Much appreciated if you do that as well. And go back and watch my preview and predictions of TLC. I put that up last night, so it'd be much appreciated if you go back and watch that if you have not tuned into it. But to move on with Monday Night Raw and everything that they gave to us tonight, we had more focus on Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. Now, if you tuned in to Monday Night Raw last week, Dolph Ziggler picked up a victory over Drew McIntyre with the help of Finn Balor. Finn Balor not here on Raw this week because he's injured, storyline-wise, because of the attack by Drew McIntyre. 50-50 booking. 50-50 booking. Drew McIntyre picks up the victory over Dolph Ziggler. Drew McIntyre viciously attacks Dolph Ziggler after the matchup. Now, I said this before, and I'll say it again. Dolph Ziggler, since how these two are broke up, should be at TLC in the match with Drew McIntyre and Finn Balor. He should not be placed as a small pawn to build up Drew McIntyre on his way to facing Finn Balor. He should not. Dolph Ziggler is worth way more than that. Much better talent than being used as a little bitty pawn. That should be a triple threat matchup. It should be something. So I really don't like the WWE went down that road with that. But we all knew it was going to be 50-50 booking, and we all knew Drew McIntyre was going to get his revenge on Dolph Ziggler because of the victory last week. Now, WWE had this face-to-face between Ronda and Nia Jax tonight, which they said it was going to be another one of these open forums for the fans to ask questions to Ronda and Nia Jax. I'm glad that did not happen. That have been 3 weeks in a row seeing it. We don't need to see it again. Not with the main championship. We don't. So I'm glad WWE pulled the trigger on that, whether fans were criticizing it or they just decided at the last second to let's not do that. Let's just have Nia Jax cut her promo, which was cringeworthy. I don't care what anybody says. I'm sure there's a lot of people that agree with me, but it was cringe. And then Ronda Rousey, who I like how she came out tonight, determined to just rip someone's arm off. Not here to talk, not here to take all beautiful shots, poses with the championship. She's here to fight. I like how Ronda Rousey came out tonight. Of course, she had some backup, which led right into the matchup, Tamina versus Ember Moon, where Ember Moon picked up the victory over Tamina. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Ember Moon deserves a shot at the Raw Women's Championship. Whether it's the Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, Fastlane, somewhere in between going on the way to WrestleMania, give her that shot. She deserves it. Kind of would play into the storyline. If Ember Moon would turn her back on Ronda Rousey because she's Ronda's friend right now. But I really don't see a need in doing that. I don't have a problem two baby faces facing each other. WWE, Wrestling 101, Vince McMahon, you have to have a baby face and a heel facing each other. So that's what would have to happen. But I don't see why you would, because it would still be a very good contest in my eyes. No matter if there was a babyface, heel, or two baby faces facing each other, or two heels, doesn't matter. Ember Moon deserves a shot at the title. Now, Bayley versus Alicia Fox. This contest, this matchup, what can you say about it? Not much of anything outside of the fact that I feel sorry for Bayley. I really do. They're playing up the storyline of Finn Balor being hurt. Okay? They're playing up that storyline. Which means he's not going to be in the Facebook Watch mixed match tag team match tomorrow night. So who does WWE pick? Another one of Monday Night Raw's resident jobbers, Apollo Crews. Seriously? Apollo Crews to take Finn Balor's spot to be her tag team partner. I don't get it. Ember Moon got teamed up with one of the worst wrestlers of all time. One that cannot even win a matchup. Automatically lost. Just flickered out. Ember Moon's partner, it was just absolutely horrible. She faced the facts that she was going to be bye-bye out of the tournament as soon as she got a replacement. Bayley, you can pretty much say that tomorrow night with Apollo Crews being her partner. Now, WWE playing up this advantage thing about the winner getting the 30th spot in the Royal Rumble matchup. Look, let's be honest here. That is one of the least amount of time somebody has won in the Royal Rumble match. Of everybody that's won in the Royal Rumble, that number is one of the least. Let's be honest. So you don't really have a huge advantage by coming in at number 30. Yeah, some of you might say, well you do because you're going to be in there the least amount of time. History shows that that's not necessarily the case. Okay? Now, Lio Rush versus Elias. Who cares? Who cares? This was absolutely ridiculous. I had this on mute from the time Elias came out and started talking to the time Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush, won that whole thing and it went off camera. I had it on mute. I was not even paying attention. Because, quite frankly, I don't care about hearing Michael Cole or Corey Graves or Renee Young or anybody scream out at the top of their lungs into the microphone, "Almighty Lashley." Now, I do understand Leo Rush was the one that was facing Elias tonight, but I knew we were going to hear Almighty Lashley, so I wasn't paying any attention whatsoever, because he is one of the worst competitors on Raw's roster today that we see on a normal basis. Dean Ambrose, or as he likes to be called now, just Dean, because he didn't want to be called Dean Ambrose in the promo tonight that he was, or the interview he was giving tonight backstage. So Dean, he, WWE, okay, you know, it's really quite simple. Fans griped, moaned, groaned, and complained about the whole using the leukemia aspect of it to try to build up Dean Ambrose as a heel. Then WWE has Dean Ambrose coming out there looking like Bane off Dark Knight. And the majority of the WWE Universe gripes even more than they did when Dean Ambrose was mentioning Roman Reigns' leukemia. So what does WWE do? The following week, they have him go back to looking normal, and they have him cutting a promo about how Seth Rollins has this big, huge ego, and that's why he's in this TLC matchup. And if he wins the TLC match and remains Intercontinental Champion, he's going to lose it at TLC this Sunday, so on and so forth. And then they play the clip of the entire build going up to TLC, and they say, before they play the clip, "What do you think about this? How do you respond to this?" And we are not trying to offend anybody. Now, wrestling fans, let's be honest here, okay? They are saying that because everybody threw a fit when Roman Reigns announced he had leukemia, and WWE was playing that a storyline up. And Dean Ambrose, after they showed the clip, didn't say a word and walked off. Why? Because if he would have said anything about it, then the WWE Universe tonight, all over social media, would have cringed, griped, moaned, groaned, complained, so on and so forth. How much of this am I saying that is not true? WWE resorting back to the well, to the beginning of their rivalry, and the fact that it remains, the writers suck for Dean Ambrose right now. But at the same time, if the fans wouldn't have griped, moaned, groaned, and complained the way they did, we wouldn't be having this problem at the same, if you think about it. I mean, we wouldn't be having this problem. Whatever. Moving on. Natalya and Ruby Riott. Natalya comes out. She's giving this heartfelt speech. She's doing this for her dad, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And she's going to beat Ruby Riott this Sunday at TLC for her dad, so on and so forth. And then Ruby Riott comes out and has a table with Jim the Anvil Neidhart's picture on it. That kind of broke down Natalya, and you could see Natalya breaking down when she saw that. And Ruby Riott saying that this Sunday you're going to be closer to your father than you ever have been once I put you through this table, so on and so forth. Ruby Riott, honestly, one of the best in the women's division on Monday Night Raw. It's a shame, in my honest opinion, that she doesn't get a women. She has not gotten a women's championship matchup since being on the roster, because she's doing some great work, in my opinion. But this Sunday, honestly, I see Natalya being victorious in that, getting some retribution on all this hatred this hatred and brutality that the Riott Squad has been putting Natalya through. But I have to wait and see. AOP versus Glorious Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. I would love to be happy for Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. I would love to be joy juicing for Bobby Roode and Chad Gable right now because they're the new Raw Tag Team Champions, so on and so forth. Unfortunately, however, I cannot. There is nothing inside my body that speaks out. Yay! Good for you! You're the new Raw Tag Team Champions. There's nothing. And you know why, wrestling fans? Because they will drop those titles right back to AOP this coming Sunday at TLC. They won those titles merely to set up a rematch, set up another matchup at TLC for the pay-per-view, so AOP can become two-time Raw Tag Team Champions. And this time, more than likely, well, I hope, it will not be a 3-on-2 handicap matchup. Because if we see a 3-on-2 handicap matchup and Drake Maverick is the one that covers Chad Gable and Bobby Roode at TLC, cringe. I thought I would have loved to have seen more of a WrestleMania 5 experience tonight. Except having the 3 win. WrestleMania 5, we saw Demolition defend the tag titles against the Powers of Pain with Mr. Fuji in their corner wrestling that night because Mr. Fuji was the Powers of Pain's manager for the Tag Team Championship. Demolition defeated Powers of Pain and Mr. Fuji. Flip-flop it, just had the Authors of Pain beat Chad Gable and Bobby Roode. There's no sense in giving a meaningless tag team championship run just so you can drop it back to Authors of Pain 6 days later. Whoop-de-doo. You're a transitional champion. Kind of like Sasha Banks, all of Sasha Banks' title reigns. Transitional. And I hate saying that about Sasha Banks' title reigns, but that's what they were. Because WWE didn't have faith enough in her to keep the title on her long enough to carry on a good title run. But now I'm done ranting about that. And finally, Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin in the main event, TLC matchup. Pretty good contest, honestly. They had some good chemistry. I am very glad they did not give the title to Baron Corbin. I'm very glad they did not end the Monday Night Raw with Baron Corbin with his hand held high, the authority hand held high with the Intercontinental Championship. Number one, if that was the case, it would have been guaranteed who was going to win at TLC in the Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin matchup. Baron Corbin would have been an automatic loss, even though we kind of already know what direction that's going in. Number two, you know, a lot of people say that the IC strap does not need to be in the rivalry with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. Okay, I understand that. I get where you're coming from because sometimes titles are not needed in rivalries. And the rivalry means more than the championship. And it's not doing the title any justice by being in the rivalry. However, I like them fighting for a title, honestly, because if Dean Ambrose becomes a champion, gives him something to carry around and look better besides him just being this heel lunatic, honestly. And, you know, if Seth Rollins, continues to, if he loses it and moves on to Royal Rumble, what happens then? What if he wins the Rumble? I don't want him winning the Rumble and still being the Intercontinental Champion and knowing where he's going to be going at WrestleMania. I don't want to know that. So, important to have the IC strap for this rivalry. Now, if he doesn't win the Royal Rumble and somebody else does, then have to wait and see. But that's still well off. We're still a long time, month and a half from the Royal Rumble, almost 2 months. So, about a month and a half. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens. At this coming pay-per-view TLC, and then what happens at the Royal Rumble. But for this Monday Night Raw go-home show, better than the last 2 weeks, which pretty much means, as I stated earlier, Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn didn't solely write the show themselves. Couldn't have. Absolutely, positively, there is absolutely no way they wrote the shows by themselves because Vince McMahon wrote the show by himself the last 2 weeks. And you saw the miserable failure that it came out of it. So, I don't know what they did tonight. It was better than the last 2 weeks, but this was not overall a tremendous show whatsoever. But it did show a little bit of progress in my opinion. But this is Monday Night Raw. It can have one good week and then 3 months of failure. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in the following weeks. Coming out of TLC, going into the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania season. But I'll see you tomorrow for SmackDown Live review. Hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, leave me a thumbs up, subscribe, and don't forget to do everything else that I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast. And until I see you again, this is Webby, and I'll catch you on the other side. Talk to you later.